The Grand Wagoneer concept has recently been announced, and much like everyone on YouTube, I have views on the car. Now I'm going to add to the cacophony of people droning on about it in this video. Hopefully it won't be too boring, but no guarantees. Now the Grand Wagoneer has a legacy, shall we say. It started off as a slightly naff wood-panelled car, which has gained a little bit of popularity, particularly amongst people who like retro styling. Jeep, however, has decided to reinvent it. Now there's been a bit of a resurgence of classic SUVs. We've seen the Bronco come out, we've seen a new Land Rover Defender. This is basically Jeep's attempt to do the same and to cash in on nostalgia. Now, whereas those other two brands have really gone all out with the nostalgia, the Grand Wagoneer here is very, very different. And there are a few reasons I'm not hugely fond of it. Firstly, the price is pretty huge. The price is going to be around $65,000 to $75,000 US. Now, of course, it's still a concept stage, but it seems quite advanced. So those prices seem to be reasonably representative. Apparently, it could go up to $100,000 fully loaded. That puts the Wagoneer firmly in luxury territory. It can't really compete. It's basically competing against some of the Porsches at that price level. It really is not going to do particularly well at that price level when you really think about it, because the Jeep brand name simply doesn't have the same notoriety as, say, Porsche does, or Mercedes or BMW. Now, while it's been remarked that perhaps they're cashing in on the nostalgia for the old Grand Wagoneer, this doesn't look anything like it. So there's no real nostalgia value here, because the car is totally different. For them to really cash in on it, they would need to make it look at least somewhat like the old car, or at least have some resemblance to it, which it doesn't. Furthermore, the type of person that buys a classic car is not necessarily looking for a luxury vehicle, rather they're interested in the heritage of the car. So, going all in on luxury is not necessarily going to achieve what they want. Now, the engine here, of course, seems to be perfectly adequate, but we don't have enough details about tech or the engine to really say. It appears to be a V6 hybrid, but of course that's subject to change. There might be a V8 hybrid, we don't really know at this stage. The second thing I don't like is the exterior design. Basically, I find it a little bit ugly. The grille looks really weirdly proportioned. Like it looks like it kind of seeps in or sinks in to the front of the car at slightly weird angles. Basically, it doesn't really occupy the whole front when you take into account the headlights. There's this weird in and out shape to it. The grille kind of has this weird snout-like effect that doesn't quite work. Furthermore, it is very, very shiny and chromy, which is just a little bit naff, depending on which color you go with, and it doesn't really work altogether. We also have to take account of the fact that the front is very busy. So there's just so many different indents here and there that don't seem to be cohesive. They're not geometrically adherent to one another. Similarly on the back, there's no real geometry. While of course it is symmetrical, there's not really a design that looks pretty. Rather, there's a design that is functional. That unfortunately is not good enough at the price point they're looking for. The silhouette, of course, is perfectly adequate, just like any other SUV. The side-on silhouette is basically somewhat similar to the Q7 or any other large SUV. They all kind of blur together. So if we're basically looking at a car here that has very weird exterior styling, it's not great. The next thing I don't hugely like is the interior styling. It appears the tech is perfectly adequate. We don't really know at this stage exactly what it's going to have. So we can't say either here nor there what the tech is going to be. What we can, however, say is there appears to be a weirdly designed center console. It has two screens which are of different sizes and are weirdly indented, and it's not totally clear why. The rest of the interior looks like it has adequate quality, but again, this is Chrysler quality, so it remains to be seen what it's actually like. I.e., in the videos that they release, it looks quite nice, but who really knows? Similarly in the back, it looks like it's perfectly functional. It looks like there are two bucket seats. there doesn't appear to be a functional center seat, but of course that could be subject to change, and that could be just an optioning matter as to how you option the car. Overall, the interior just looks busy. There doesn't seem to be a coherent design language that makes it all fit together in a way that looks pretty. Rather, there's things going on everywhere, which is just irritating. Furthermore, with all of the screens, it remains to be seen how easy it is to actually control everything. So effectively, it's a matter of a design ethos functioning or focusing on technology rather than something focusing on functionality. So overall, the interior and the exterior styling just looks weird. It looks like they've kind of put too much in there. Like they have a whole lot of things going on without a coherence to it. I.e., there's no central thing linking everything together to make it look like it functions as a whole. It's pieces put all over the place that might be functional individually, but when you have them as a coherent text, they don't really work very well. So those are my overall thoughts about the concept that's been released so far. Of course, it is subject to change, but reportedly it is relatively far on, so I suspect we won't see that many changes going forward. Hopefully there will be some further design coherence, trying to tie all of these lines together in a central narrative, but at this point we don't seem to have that. I personally don't think the Grand Wagoneer will do especially well, but of course that remains to be seen, and I know that some people do certainly like it as a reasonable luxury SUV, but of course, like I've indicated, Jeep has an uphill task competing in that segment, particularly with an SUV that is not particularly attractive and looks quite busy. So those are my thoughts on the new Grand Wagoneer, why I think it's a little bit weird, why I personally would not be rushing out and buying one at the price point that they've announced, and why I don't think it will be a resounding success. Of course, I could easily be proved wrong. It could easily be that many other people love the Grand Wagoneer and it is going to do incredibly well, but of course we don't know at this point, and we need to wait until the final model is actually released. At any point, those are my views on the Grand Wagoneer, why I'm not hugely enamored with it, and why I think it won't be particularly successful. If you have any thoughts on it, drop those in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope I haven't bored you too much, and it would be wonderful if you clicked the like and subscribe buttons. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you for future videos.